Hello all, and welcome to the Rails board meeting. This is Friday, November 18th, 2022. I'm Alex Mancina, president of the Rails board, and I call this meeting to order at 1 p.m. Emily, would you please call roll?
Yes. Monica Caldecott.
Here.
Rosie Camargo. Alice Creason.
Here.
Juanita Harrell.
Here.
Robin Hollenthal.
Here.
Diane Hollister.
Here.
Renee Leva. Jennifer McIntosh.
Here.
Julie Melivek.
Here.
Becky Spratford.
Here.
Thomas Stagg.
Here.
Beth Teppen.
Here.
Alex Mancina.
Here.
Vanessa Villarreal.
Here.
And Karen Voidick.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. On to recognition of guests and announcements. Since we have an in-person forum, we do not need to do roll calls for every vote. We will handle guests and public comments at the same time. Let's start with guests here in Burr Ridge. Deirdre?
Deirdre Brennan, Rails. Monica Harris, Rails.
Brian Heppel, Rails.
Emily Feister, Rails.
Branch Halter, Rails.
Mark Hatch, Rails.
Mary Witt Rails.
Dan Boston, Rails.
Ola Gronsky Rails, Layla Heath Rails, Hannah Slaughter Rails.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Dave Berry, Bislak.
Thank you. Are there any public comments in Burr Ridge? All right, hearing none, on to the State Library.
Greg McCormick.
Thank you. Any public comments at the State Library?
No public comment.
Thank you. Emily, would you please read the name of the guests on Zoom?
Yes, it's Sharon Swanson.
Any public comments on Zoom? If
No.
not, Emily, did we receive? Oh,
Sharon just said no.
did we receive any public comments by email?
We did not.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to move any item to the regular agenda for further discussion? If not, may I have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
Karen, so moved. Julie Milivek, second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Let's see. Next is Sharon Swanson with the financial report.
Good afternoon, all. I'm doing this from my office so that I can be better heard since the microphone doesn't tend to pick up on my voice in the meeting room. So the October 31st unassigned general fund cash and investment balance of 24.3 million would fund approximately 23.4 months of operations, which is an additional 4 months of coverage since this last month. And this is primarily from having received the third live and learn payment of $1,072,500, as well as the portion of the APC grant that comes out of the state's general fund of a little over $3.5 million. Thank you, Greg. So revenues through October of a little over $8.8 million were approximately 2.9 million above budget. And this is primarily from those two APC grant payments. And this is further added to by above budget investment income, which I've been beating the drum about for these past several months, and above budget reimbursement revenues from greater than planned participation in the EBSCO group purchase. And then after I wrote my report on November 10th and November 16th, Rails received the fourth live and learn payment, another one, $1,072,500, as well as the first half of the L2 development and maintenance grant. And this was $51,819.50. And the total grant is a little over $103,000. So investment income was nearly $150,000 through October, which pretty much doubles the total fiscal year 23 budget and investment income of $77,769, and is approximately $145,000 above the previous year's investment income at the same point in the previous year. And I included another chart about that, just showing investment income over the years and how this is a historic year for us. Inflation is just beginning to be tamed by the Federal Reserve's historic 75 basis point increases. And the next increase in the rates that will happen at the Federal Reserve's December meeting is expected to be reduced to a 50 basis point increase. So the new expected rate for the end of calendar year 2023 that we're expected to reach for interest rates is now 5%. The fair market value of Rails' series of treasury notes barely increased by $358 during the month of October due to this more favorable inflation outlook, as well as our moving nearer to the second of our treasury notes maturities. And that next note maturity, I believe, will be in January. Expenditures through October of over $5.2 million were approximately $475,000 below budget. And this was due primarily to library materials falling nearly $102,000 below budget from timing differences between the actual pattern of Communico Cloud platform group purchases compared to the budgeted pattern. And then under budget expenditures also included contractual services, personnel, and travel and continuing education. Contractual services were below budget, both due to a normal lag in our billings from our delivery outsourcing contractor, as well as the retooling of the cataloging grant process for those members that want to join an LSAP. This retooling has shifted the opening of the grant process to later in the fiscal year. So we should be incurring more expenses later in this fiscal year related to that. Personnel were under budget due to timing delay in paying our monthly health insurance invoice, as well as the delayed hiring for our 3 newly created positions, all of which have now been filled. Travel and continuing education was under budget, but since conferences have begun to happen and reimbursement requests have begun to be processed, these expenditures are fully expected to continue to increase. Delivery department expenditures through October of just over $1.3 million were approximately $121,000 below budget. And this is partially from a normal lag in our contractual billings, but also from a less than budgeted increase in our delivery outsourcing vendors costs, 20% versus 22% that we budgeted for. And delivery service costs are now 24.8% of the total general fund expenditures, but are budgeted to be 30.6% of this total. And LSAP support expenditures of nearly just over $1 million were 19.2% of total general fund expenditures and are budgeted to be 16.4% of this total, but we got a little bit of a bump in October because we paid out our quarterly support payments to the LSAPs. So may I answer any questions?
Right, if not, thank you, Sharon. Next, I'll start us off with reports. My only report is regarding the executive director search, which is on the agenda later, so we'll cover that then. Committee reports were emailed on Thursday. Are there any questions about committee reports? All right, if not, next is Deirdre with the Rails monthly report.
Thank you. I guess I will say again, thank you to everybody for all the great kind words that you have offered, and the meeting room naming is all wonderful, and I'll miss you all, but I won't miss Gordon. Let's put it that way. Moving on to Rails business. We do have one item that Monica is going to talk about. You want to do that now?
Sure, you can do that. We just wanted to update you on a pilot project that we are going to do with our delivery regarding PTO, so paid time off for this year. So part of the personnel policy at Rails, which a lot of you have seen, it shows that anything over 37.5 hours of vacation time, only 37.5 hours of vacation time can carry over to a new year. But over the course of the pandemic in the last 3 years, that group in particular, because of their in-person work and because of staffing issues, sometimes because of coverage related to COVID and the need to get those delivery pieces out, the staff were not always able to take the vacation time that is allotted to them in a timely manner. So over the last 3 years, some of that time has carried over from year to year, and that has been allowed by the executive director in order to happen. Now, this year, we have continued to see some staffing shortages in some areas, and so some of those titles have remained, but we do not want to continue to carry over things over that 37.5 hours on a regular basis moving forward. So as a pilot project and in discussion with our human resources department, our delivery management, and with finance, we are going to do a pilot project this year that allows for a payout of those PTO hours over the 37.5 hours as a one-time basis. This pilot project also notes that anything that is over that amount as a staff member left, they would be entitled to have that as money that they would take on their check. If we are able to do it by the end of this year for 2022, that allows for it to be in part of the 2022 tax year for W-2, and it means that no member of our delivery staff will carry over more than the 37.5 hours as allotted by our personnel policy for this year. So we wanted to share that with you today and ask if you have any questions about that project. This pilot project is only for our delivery staff, which is our staff that is required to do in-person work 100% of the time. We will evaluate this process to see if there's anything else we need to bring to the policy committee for future years in terms of potential changes. This is a one-time project that is a pilot project.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the employee to submit so many hours to be cashed out? Or is it up to like payroll to say, okay, they have this much, and so they get automatically paid out the rest of it, so keep everybody under?
Yes, so that process will be done by our human resources departments or our payroll department. We've already done an analysis of how many people are over that amount of 37.5. Because the way that the payroll cycle falls this year, it does mean that we would do that payout as part of their last full check that's in 2022, which does happen about a week and a half before the end of the calendar year.
Okay, so it's not their choice. It's going to be something that's done.
It would be a letter that was issued to them that says anything in excess of the 37.5 hours will be paid out to you this year as part of our pilot project, and that will appear as part of their final check in 2022.
All right, any other questions? If not, next we have the State Library. Greg?
Well, good afternoon, and it certainly is good to see everyone there. I do wish I could have been there, and I tell you, a board meeting is more appealing than spending the morning in the Prairie Heart Center like I did. So anyway, but it's good to see you all there. A lot has changed since we were with you last, even though it seems like just a few days. Certainly new Secretary of State and State Librarian has been elected. Secretary White's executive team has begun working with Secretary-elect's transition team, so there will be more to come, possibly more to share at your January proceedings. On November 28th, Secretary White and Poet Laureate Angela Jackson will be hosting the Emerging Writers Announcement, an event here at the State Library, where 3 writers of poetry will be honored that day. The Poet Laureate makes the final selection of those winners each year, and so that's always an event that we look forward to, excuse me, here at the State Library. The legislature is back in session for veto session. And they did move some legislation this week, one of those impacting public library districts and the changes to the board appointments that were in Public Act 102-977. The language was placed into House Bill 4073 that has passed the Senate and is on the calendar of concurrence for the House. Another item of note in the e-news, which just went out, there was mention of a new tool available to or an announcement of the tool available to public libraries from IMLS, which takes the IPLAR data that feeds the annual PLS data, and it offers some comparative data public libraries may find that of interest. At the State Library, Joe Natale has quietly retired. He he decided to go ahead and use some accumulated leave. He will be in the office a few days between now and December 31st. So I did want to alert people or the system and others who may be trying to email him on certain issues that he was working on for us that please reach out to others here at the State Library if that totally goes unanswered. But really today's more about Deirdre's retirement. We are thrilled for you. I want to congratulate you on your work at the system. Certainly the library system is a better place than when you began. There are many more services. It's just changed significantly for the better under your leadership. We wish you the best in your retirement, and I'm certain there will be more adventures for you to come and as you enjoy your next stage of life. And we also look forward to working with Monica and the new executive director when that position is permanently named, and wish everyone the best today.
Thank you, Greg. I want to say, first of all, that please give Joe Natale my best, Rail's best. He was great to work with, so such a great partner on the census. And anytime I called him, if he didn't pick up the phone, which he usually did, he called me right back. He's an awesome colleague. So please give him my best personally.
Certainly will.
And it's been, thank you. And it's been great to work with you. Absolute pleasure. We didn't always agree, but we always had great conversations and came to some sort of, a consensus that worked. And that's the best kind of person to work with. So thanks for all that you have done for Illinois libraries.
So, you're welcome.
All right. Any questions for Greg? Thank you, Greg. We are moving on to new business. And Monica, would you please start us off?
Sure. So we just wanted to offer an update on the remote work policy draft that you all saw last month. The policy committee did meet, as you saw in the committee report, and there were some great suggestions that were made. One suggestion was to incorporate a common understanding of language and to articulate the differences between regular remote work, recurring remote work, intermittent remote work, and emergency remote work in terms of the arrangements there. So that's a piece that we're working on. We will also have the work comp lawyer look through that material once those changes are made, as we mentioned last time. And then we also brought the remote work draft policy to staff who had an opportunity to comment on it during our last staff meeting. We did not receive a great deal of comments at that meeting, but we are, of course, continuing to take anything that we are hearing under consideration as we move forward. And we hope to have a draft policy for you to look at after the policy committee approves it moving forward. So just wanted to offer that update.
Have anything to add, Jennifer?
I don't. I think that summarizes our conversation well.
All right. Next is board election process.
Yes, thank you. This is also kind of a board policy committee report. So please, jump in if you want. The policy committee did discuss again the board election process. Again, I would say the focus of the conversation was on not changing the process radically, but more doing more and finding better ways to sort of increase the visibility of the position, to explain the importance of the board, increase voting. I volunteered to do some more research on other systems or organizations like us and how they diversify their board. I'm sorry to say that I couldn't find anything. I tried, and unfortunately, again, I think we are in a position of being, in front. So we're having to, create best practice or try to aim to. was the other thing. Oh, and the policy committee did again suggest that the board and the committee too, but the board more to the point of this meeting, have a conversation as a sort of an agenda item about what diversity really means in the context of the board. So I leave you with that. Anything that I missed?
No, again, I think that summarizes it well. I think this is a great opportunity for us to really leverage the existing diversity we have and
Right.
think about our own institutions and associations and try to leverage all of our insight, because I just think that's the whole point. It's not trying to just kind of go with some dominant narrative that we're all just kind of piling onto, but really come to something that really authentically represents what we think the diversity of our incredibly large service area. I mean, and to what degree representation on our board needs to represent that in order to make good decisions. I don't know if those two things are always going to probably match. Like,
Right.
It's like about, do we have enough to do the work well? So.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when we need to have that discussion with this group, but I probably it's earlier in the next spring, I think. So be thinking about that while you're sitting around the at home. when you're at home, like, you know what I need to think about.
Stop watching those Hallmark.
diversity?
About diversity.
Right. Commercial break. Think about diversity for a few minutes.
Right. Next, we have new members. Dan?
Come to the Jim Krieger spot. Yeah, so today we have 2 new member requests, and the first one is very interesting. I tried to canvass my colleagues at Rails. It's the first time I think, and anyone can remember, that we've added a public library to the system. So this is Cheney's Grove Township Library. They've been acting as a library. They have a board for the last 10 years. They're not automated. They just weren't part of the system. They are in the town of Saybrook. They are looking to get automated. They're not automated. They're using a card catalog system. And so we're going to talk to them about possibly joining the Verso Automation Group. They're interested in RSA, but we'll have conversations with them soon. So the second request is from United CUSD 304 in Monmouth, and that is also sort of an interesting situation. This board suspended them in January of 2020. At that time, they hadn't been responding to any of our requests. We were ordered by the state library in 2019. This was the fall of 2019, that they didn't apply for the Illinois Library District Grant. And so we tried to verify, do you have a librarian on staff? No one ever responded. I sent many emails, phone calls. No one ever responded. And so we just assumed, okay, that they are no longer want to be part of the system. We sent them a suspension letter. We went through all the normal channels that we do when we suspend a library, as you'll find out very soon. To come to find out that this was more or less almost a misunderstanding, and that nobody was opening the mail from us, no one was responding. And they did have a lot of people in the library, so they want to rejoin. So we had a conversation, Trish Bertelson, who's the person who I've been communicating with. We had a long conversation about, what it means to be a system member and when you need to respond when we ask you to. And I think she understands that, and they're eager to regain system membership. So can I answer any questions about either of the requests?
2 interesting ones.
It's never a dull day at Rails.
All right, if there are no questions, may I have a motion to approve full membership for United CUSD 304 School in Monmouth?
What's the other one's name?
What was the other
Cheney's
one?
Grove Township.
Cheney's Grove Township.
So moved.
Alice.
We got a motion?
Alice moved.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. All right. Yeah, we're doing good on time. So unless anyone would like to take a break at this time, we can keep moving on. All right. In that case, we are on to unfinished business and the executive director search update. So I spoke with John at Bradbury Miller this morning. They've received 7 applications so far. Applications are still open through November 27th. And the executive committee is meeting on December 12th to review those and try to get our applicant pool narrowed down to finalists who will be interviewed. Deirdre, do you have anything? Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, that's where we're at. Any questions? Right. And the next item of business is suspension of membership for St. Andrew's Catholic School. Deirdre?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Dan, for writing, back and forth to them many times and bringing this forward so that we can, I think, finally make the decision to suspend them. We attempted to contact numerous times in numerous ways. I did indeed call the parish priest, as Karen, you suggested. Sorry to say, he never called me back. I know. So I think we just really don't have any choice at this point but to suspend them. Anne reached out yesterday, I think, to Jennifer Slaney, who is the person at Sterling Library who manages Rock River Library Consortium, of which this library is a member. And they will lose that service as well as all the other rail services. There was some faint glimmer of hope, didn't you think, from Jennifer, that she did talk to the principal. It sounded like somewhat recently. The principal who never, called me back, saying that she was hoping to find the funding next year to reinstate the position. I think that, I'm hopeful but doubtful. I think that sort of sounds like, kicking the can down the road a little bit. So I think we have to do what we have to do at this point. And so I would unfortunately ask the board to suspend St. Andrew's Catholic School in Rock Falls because they no longer meet system membership requirements. Is there anything you want to add, Dan?
No.
All right. May I have a motion to suspend full membership for St. Andrew Catholic School in Rock Falls and request final approval from the Illinois State Library?
I'll move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Robin, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, that brings us to Rails board member reports. Does anyone have any news from their library that they would like to share?
At Lakeville District Library, we just had our outdoor space planning meeting with our community yesterday. That was really fun to hear how everyone's excited and seeing what we're planning to do outside. So we had a lot of, we had a pretty decent turnout, so it was good. A lot of happy people. We were worried about a little bit, but everything worked out really well. So it was good. We're happy. It's exciting.
Great. Anyone else?
Downers Grove, we're doing an elevator modernization project. So our elevator has been down for 2 weeks and we're on track. It's supposed to be up and running again by December 5th. So fingers crossed because it's been kind of crazy. We have a temporary computer lab set up in what is usually our lobby cafe area. We have a temporary reference desk in the lobby. So we are managing to help people because unfortunately we only have one elevator in the building and it's not working. So we've been using walkie-talkies to get things from upstairs taken back down. Fortunately, we do have a dumb waiter, so we can send book carts up and down.
Oh, that's helpful.
So, yeah, It's a mess. Never build a building with one elevator.
The Harriet, the spy in me is very glad you have a dumbwaiter.
Yeah. I so want to ride in it. They
I have something from the ILA meeting yesterday. I also want to make sure Dan hears this too as well. The ILA has a newer forum for small and rural libraries. So all of you here have connections, to lots of libraries, as we're all library leaders. If anybody knows people at small or rural libraries anywhere in the state who are interested in getting more involved with ILA is really looking to getting that. So I'm hoping like maybe Dan has some people you might want to pass on to Cindy. Greg, maybe you know some people. I already mentioned it to Diane. But there's this forum, it's raring to go. They just need people. So you could email, there's actually on the ILA website, there's a brand new forum interest form that you can find. Just search forum interest form, or just obviously contact Cindy Robinson or send me an email. I will pass it on, or Julie, we're both on the ILA board, but really, really want to get this going. So please pass it on.
I was just gonna say, you never know who you end up in a room with for advocacy purposes. So a couple of weeks ago, I was downtown Chicago, Hallie, that worked at Kane County, got an award for service at Kane County Law Library. And I went downtown and we were talking and we were standing there. And I know I'm in a room full of judges. And a judge walked up and was talking to us, and she loved libraries. She wants to work with libraries. She asked us for our business cards. We're like, okay, great. And I leave. And the next day I'm at work and I send Hallie a text and I go, I know I met a judge last night. Who did I meet? It's the newly elected Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Illinois. So you never know who you're in a room with.
So now we know she loves libraries.
She loves libraries
Send her
and wants
gift
to work
basket.
with us so badly. And we were like, great, but I just knew it was a judge. I just didn't know who.
Someone tell Secretary elect. You should make a new friend.
So that was great.
What is this judge's name?
Her name is
Elizabeth.
Mary Jane Theis, Theis.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was that was nice.
Dan's writing it down. In his role as special library.
She could be a speaker for a special library association. We should ask her to come speak at ILA in Springfield. I'm making a note.
Yes.
Give you all like a little, really out there, advanced notice that College of DuPage is doing another major art exhibit next summer. If you haven't heard about this one, is on Andy Warhol, and it's going to be really fun. Yeah, ooh, right. That's going to be from June to September. And in a similar way that they did the Frida exhibit, they're going to completely transform the Mackinac Arts Center. There'll be about 94 different works in the exhibit. So, and some of them are part of the COD permanent collection, and then the Bank of America is lending their private collection to be part of the exhibit. But again, very fun and interactive, 11,000 square feet of space, but lots of video installations. They're going to do like a Studio 54 experience in the studio theater, and a Central Park inspired kind of design outside the theater, outside the building. So it's going to be, I think, really fun again, and just a really nice opportunity. So be thinking about, if you're in any proximity to DuPage County, COD, I think they're going to be looking for lots of opportunities for community engagement, lots of pop art in the community. They're going to be reaching out to municipalities and asking them to find places where they can do public art, pop art installations around town. But I mean, obviously, we can do this in lots of different ways. So I'm a ready and willing partner with others, but just take that back and think about how fun pop art can be as a way to inspire and connect people. I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
We're nearby in Lombard at the Helen Plum Library, and I know our
You're on
marketing
it?
department is
Good.
working on something. So, and our new library should be open in the spring as well. So hopefully you'll
So great.
That's been a
stop
long
by.
road.
Yeah.
As a Lombard resident, I thank you.
That's been a long road, so that's.
Yeah.
That's
Get
exciting.
close.
I can't wait to go.
Yep. Hopefully.
Yes,
hopefully
long
in
and
April.
winding is true.
Yeah.
Fun.
Anyone else?
Yes, I
Diane.
have a bit of good news. We have a friendly library proponent who will be a representative. Sharon Chung won her election, and she's my neighbor across the street.
Wow,
And
that's great.
friend, so glad to report
Great.
All right. So next we have a meeting recap and agenda building for the next Rails board meeting. Since we have no meeting in December, our next board meeting will be Friday, January 20th, 2023 at 1 p.m. Please note that this is going to be the third Friday of the month due to the ALA conference, so not the fourth. And by that time, we should have completed our interviews for next executive director. So that's the biggest item we have coming up. Anything else we need to add to the agenda for January meeting?
I have that discussion about diversity.
Yeah, I think that's.
Because,
Do it in January?
yeah, because the election is like March, right?
Election.
March, April, right?
April, May.
Yeah, it's like, it's, but people have to, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a good
Yeah.
time. to
yeah,
have
we
it,
should
right.
probably do that.
Great.
Because we'll have nothing else going on.
Nothing to do.
Make up for the fact that this is short.
No, let's go to closed session.
We're not over, we're not done yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Not leaving just yet. So yes, we do have a closed session. The board will now move into closed session to discuss matters pertaining to personnel as per 5 Illinois Compiled Statutes, Chapter 120, Paragraph 2, Section C1, which states, exceptions, a public body may hold closed meetings to consider the following subjects: collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. May I have a motion to move into closed session? Thank you.
Second.
Diane, thank you. Emily, would you please call roll?
Monica Caldecott,
Yes.
Alice Creason,
Yes.
Juanita Harrell,
Yes.
Robin Hollenthal,
Yes.
Diane Hollister, Jennifer McIntosh,
Yes.
Julie Melevec,
Yes.
Becky Spratford,
Yes.
Thomas Stagg,
Yes.
Beth Teppen,
Yes.
Karen Boydick,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Vanessa Villarreal,
Yes.
and Alex Vancina.
Yes. All right, we are back in open session. We have no actions to follow up with from closed session, so that brings us to adjournment. And I will adjourn this meeting at 2:12 p.m. Thank you, and we'll see you in January.